Hello, everybody, and I'm here to do the Mio on MMA podcast prediction for UFC 295. And I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but this card, pretty good. Pretty damn good. From top to bottom, I'm looking at this card and I'm like, you know what? The main event, cool. The co-main event, cool. Andrade Dern, cool. Frivola Saint Denis, high-level action fight, love it. Sabatini Lopez, cool. Answers a lot of questions on both fighters. Urseg Costa will be fun. I admittedly have very few questions to be answering that question, but it's a fun fight. Ricci versus Godinez, pretty fun. Ribeski versus Roberts, pretty fun. Sadikov Borshet, pretty fun. Gordon versus Madsen, really, like Jared Gordon, Marco Madsen is like one of the worst fights on this card. Just because like my interest in Marco Madsen has always been pretty limited, is what it comes down to. Like, realistically speaking, it's just one of those things that, like, I understand you're an Olympic athlete. You have all kinds of potential. You are based in a sport that actually translates to combat sports because, like, it's Greco-Roman wrestling. It is actually a combat sport. It's not like you're coming in from ski jumping or something. But, like, at the same time, you're coming in a little bit too late. And I don't really think I think I'm going to be looking at it as like kind of a letdown of potential. And you got Jared Gordon, who, you know, I like, but has a very hard ceiling. Kwaiko Kang, John Castaneda, good fight. Joshua Van, Kevin Borges, might be a good fight. We'll see. I have questions about Kevin Borges. And then Dennis Bazuka versus Jamal Emmers, very, very good. We lost some fights along the way. Matt Schnell versus Steve Urseg, very disappointed that's not happening. That was going to be dope. Ribeski versus Aliev. Probably better than the fight that we're getting, so that's a blow. Brunson versus Dolidze. Actually was not really interested in Brunson Dolidze at all. Just was not. I'm not interested in the Derek Brunson right now at this point. Like, just too semi-retired, breakable, etc. It doesn't tell me much. And then like Jones versus Stipe, actually a fight I really didn't like. And we lost that, and we get Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall instead. And I'm good with that. I am Gucci with that idea. And also, I think the betting lines, I've got them written down, but hang on. Let me get the best fight odds up here. I think everything is like really, really, really close. Like, let's see here. Biggest gap on the card is Roberts versus Ribeski, which I don't actually think it should. Whoa, man! I took these numbers the other day, and apparently we're up to like minus 900 on Ribeski. Okay. Let's get the speech out of the way really, really quickly here. When I say this, do not bet on fights that you can't lose the money on, because MMA is a sport where betting is fun. It adds a little extra spice to it. It gives a thought of like turning your in-brain thoughts of, can I predict the fight, to some kind of personal gain. Sure, awesome, but you will lose money. So, you know, only bet what you cannot, but that you can afford to lose. I personally start every year off putting a little bit of money aside. That's my betting fund. If that runs out, that runs out. That's how it is. The winnings go in there, so like it gets bigger, hopefully. But like if it runs out, it runs out, and I stop betting. There you go. That's how that is my advice to you. So when I talk about the betting odds here, keep that in mind. Let's start with the main event here. At the top, we got Yuri Procházka, Alex Bahia, Poatan versus they're going with the big, like the Aztec warrior versus the Czech samurai here and all kinds of stuff. It's fun, wacky, and weird. And the fight should be fun, wacky, and weird. Yuri Procházka is guaranteed wacky and weird because the guy is so open. He's amazingly physically durable, and that's why his lack of defense can work for him. He is incredibly confident, focused, and tends to see everything coming. Like he's the guy who like will get hit super clean, and just shake it off because he saw it coming all the way. He prepped for it. He absorbed it beautifully. He did his thing. He's fast, powerful in his own right. He's big. Although Poatan is the same reach and taller, and incredibly creative. Uh, don't get me wrong, like you'll see these like videos of him hitting pads and stuff, and it'll look bad. It will look really bad. and it's true. Like the fundamentals of Procházka's game are not necessarily amazing. They're just not. They're if you look up a textbook and you throw up like a little textbook image on one screen, you throw up Poatan or not Poatan, Yuri on the other, it's not going to look remotely the same. But his physicality, his explosiveness, his speed, his power, his craziness, his insanity, his durability, they all play a role in his ability to make that work. And that took him to a UFC title, granted on absolutely the fast streak, because like he got a title fight in his third fight? Or was the Reyes fight a title? I don't even remember now. Oh boy. But anyways, like his Glover Teixeira fight, third fight in the UFC, fought Volkan, fought Reyes, fought Procházka. No, he did not fight himself, although he is kind of doing that every time. Fought Glover. Then he got hurt. And of course, the question is, he's coming off a serious injury. Is that going to tremendously adversely affect him in this fight? Is that going to reduce that explosiveness at all? Is that going to reduce that speed at all? That's always a question when it comes to coming off an injury for a guy who is very much physically based. I actually had a conversation with someone about this with Tony Ferguson, because Tony Ferguson's got some ex-Navy SEAL training with him, and like, it's insane workouts and whatever. And it's just like, yeah, but like that's not going to do anything for Ferguson. Like Ferguson's problem is not work ethic. It's not hard training. It's smart training and building a game that didn't rely on, I am incredibly fast and I can do the matrix dodge. And he just can't do that anymore, and it falls apart. So like that is a question going into this fight. Procházka's coming off an injury. He does not have great fundamentals. Here we go. A lot of people are also talking about like Procházka will just grapple him. He'll just take Poatan down and he'll get it done. But like my guy has one takedown in his UFC run, and I have a very hard time finding him doing takedowns on the regional scene. Like Yuri Procházka, like Poatan is a kickboxer coming into MMA or into MMA now. And obviously like striking is going to be way better than his grappling. But like the idea that Yuri Procházka, who admittedly did submit Glover Teixeira, I get it. I understand the logic. But like the idea that he's just going to go out there and grapple blanket Poatan? No, like it's not in his character and it's not in his skill set. His grappling against Glover was impressive in the sense of he would explode out of things. There wasn't a technical breakdown of it. There wasn't a control element to it. It's just like, I am grappling with this slippery eel, basically. Like it's very defensive grappling oriented. Like I believe that Procházka has a good enough ground game that he would, combined with his physicality, be incredibly hard to actually out-grapple. But like he's not going to out-grapple you necessarily. He's not going to break you down. And that means that like he's probably going to stand and bang with Poatan. And Poatan is a hard hitter. The Hands of Stone is no joke. And, he's a guy who has beaten high-level kickboxers. Sort of similar to Yuri in the sense that I don't think he's the greatest textbook striker. I don't think he's the most fantastic P's and Q's technician striker ever. I don't. But he hits hard. He hits fast. He knows what he's doing. He's calm. He's composed. He's seen a lot. I won't say everything because Yuri's crazy, but he's seen a lot. And also a big part of Yuri's defense, what there is like hand parrying and wrist positionals, kind of like Sean Strickland does. And Poatan bombed Sean Strickland into unconsciousness. Now, to be clear, this is a way harder fight than Sean Strickland because Procházka is bigger. He has venom and hits hard in a way that Strickland can't even dream of. And he's faster. Like he's got the physical tools that Strickland, to be honest, does not have. So there is that question mark. But at the end of the day, if you're going to stand with Poatan, I'm going to pick him to win. And it doesn't really matter who's on the other side of the cage. It truthfully doesn't matter. And like if it goes to the ground, I'm not actually sold that Procházka is a better grappler of the two. I'm really not. Now, could Yuri win this and I'll be, I'll be eating my words and like deep down inside be like, "Oh my god." Not really. To be clear, like if Procházka beats anybody, I'm not going to be surprised. He's that type of fighter that could beat anybody because of just the absolute insanity that he is, the absolute freak he is mentally and physically. He could go out there and he could dominate Poatan. I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not at all. But run this fight 100 times, I think his defensive liabilities get him bit more often than not. And that's why I got to go Poatan by TKO. The betting odds are very, very close. Poatan minus 115 to minus 128. Procházka minus 105 to plus 105. Things have changed apparently because I was looking at the Rubeski thing. Let's see here. Just out of curiosity, what are the odds at now? Widening a little bit. I'm seeing Poatan at minus 115 to minus 128. And Procházka's dropped down to minus 103 to... No, actually, Procházka's odds are the same, minus 105 to plus 105. But there's a little bit of a lean going to Poatan here, as there should be. Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall. This is a really interesting fight. I don't actually think Pavlovich is good, which is going to sound like a weird thing because like I do have him as like the third or fourth best heavyweight in the world. I'm saying he's not very good. What I mean by that is on a technical level, his striking is not great. On a technical level, his wrestling is not great. On a technical level, his grappling is not great. But, one, this is heavyweight. Two, the man hits incredibly hard. So, it all works in spite of itself. I know he's got a fairly good wrestling pedigree on paper, but like watching Alistair Overeem just manhandle him, like I can't get that out of my head. Now, granted, that led to me picking Curtis Blades, and then Blades got knocked out. But it doesn't change the fact that I do feel like he's not actually particularly good. It's just that this is heavyweight, and being an athletic heavyweight is a cheat code. It's why a Derek Lewis, despite not being good at anything really, has stuck around as a top heavyweight for like a long time. Aspinall I have more confidence in because I do actually think he's good. I think his technique as a striker, as a grappler, and as a wrestler are all pretty good. I have my questions because he is kind of a front runner so far in his career, where like he goes out there and he just kind of destroys. And we haven't seen a lot of him since his injury either. Just beating Marcin Tybura is not that impressive. And he is coming off the couch because Aspinall is the one coming fully off the couch here. Pavlovich was prepping to fight either John Jones or Stipe Miocic if need be. So theoretically, he is in shape. But at the same time, he was prepping a game that isn't very Aspinall. So at the end of the day, similar to Procházka versus Pereira, like really similarly, I'm going to go with the guy who I feel better about their technical ability. They're both freakish athletes who probably have never fought anyone really all that close to them in physicality at any point in their career. I mean, Aspinall had the Curtis Blades fight, but then he blew his knee out. And then, like in Pavlovich's case, he has the old man Overeem, I guess. And then like Blades, but I'm not really sure the Blades fight really told me much because Blades has a tendency to get nuked. And in the case of Overeem, Overeem worked that butt. I'm going to go with Aspinall by TKO, but I will not be shocked if Pavlovich knocks him out. But the shock here would be if this goes to decision. That would be the shock. Aspinall is the favorite at minus 115 to minus 122. Minus 105 to plus 102 for Pavlovich. That was when I last checked. Things have gotten a little bit different. Aspinall is coming in at minus 112 to minus 125 now. And it is anywhere from minus 108 to plus 100 on Pavlovich. So a little bit of movement there. We're just gonna go with the numbers I wrote down yesterday. From this point onwards. Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. Would have easily taken Andrade less like a year ago in this fight. Partially because Dern a year ago was someone I had a lot of questions about, and I still do. But I was just way more confident in Andrade before she's lost 3 fights in a row and looked quite bad. Like, don't get me wrong, the power still seems to be there. Some of the physicality still seems to be there. But, like, at 32 years old, it just seems like she's kind of fading. I know she's gone through some personal issues, and maybe that's the key. Maybe, like, getting that to a resolution will bring back the old Andrade. Because 32 is not that old. It's old for a prospect, going back to last episode's spiel. But it's generally not the end. But I got to go with Dern. I mean, you're putting her in there with someone who did get submitted by 2 of her last 3 opponents, Erin Blanchfield and Tatiana Suarez. And don't get me wrong, there are things that Blanchfield and Suarez do a lot better. They're a lot more physical than Dern is. They're better wrestlers than Dern is. But Dern is a better grappler than them. And Dern is also the type of grappler that, like, will just, like, you know, be like, all right, I will go to my back to achieve what I need to do. And her striking, as insanely ugly as it is, insanely ugly, it does work. She's just persistent about it. And like I said, Andrade just feels really, really flat. Like, I would love to be wrong here. I would love for Jessica Andrade to come out there and just bomb. And just, like, look like the old Jessica Andrade. Look like champion Andrade. But she's in a place where, like, as I was talking about with Pavlovich, as I was talking about with Procházka, in a big way, it's a lot of physicality. And if that physicality just is not responding properly, the fundamentals are not actually there. Really, like, there are some fundamentals to Andrade's game, but there's not a lot. Like, her keys to victory throughout her entire UFC run has been will beast 24/7. To borrow, well, it's 25-8 was Corey Anderson's thing, but yeah. Dern by submission is what I have to go with. She is a minus 200 to minus 215 favorite. Andrade plus 164 to plus 170 makes sense. She's a live dog, of course. But I kind of need to see Andrade win again before I pick her to win. Now, the exceptions. If they give her someone absolutely ridiculous to face, then, you know, that will change. Pat Sabatini versus Diego Lopez. 2 guys I like but do not trust for completely separate reasons. Sabatini has a very meta grappler game. Get the takedown, top position. You know, has some heel hooks and stuff. And, you know, there's a little bit of crazy creativity there. But, like, I'm going to, you know, do my thing. I'm going to, you know, pressure you. I'm going to get takedowns. I'm going to work the top position. I'm going to do the wrestler grappler thing. But his striking is so bad. Like, wooden, stiff, no flexibility to him whatsoever. When he gets hit, he gets hit. And with Lopez, there's a much, much better fighter in there. But, like, you see it in, like, the fact that, you know, the guy has losses to, like, some people that he just should never lose to, because he will give up position. He will work from his back. He will do crazy stuff. He has a lot of Yuri Procházka in him. In a division where, like, having insane athleticism doesn't actually carry you as far. I do have to go with Diego Lopez. I just think he can hurt Sabatini. Sabatini is just so easy to hurt. But, like, there is a world in which Sabatini kind of just does what Movsar Evloev did to Lopez, which is take him down, hold him down, and do your thing. But at the end of the day, I got to go with Lopez. I'm never going to be surprised if Lopez loses. There is just that kind of poor decision making to him. Steve Erceg versus Alessandro Costa. Betting odds. Sabatini is the favorite, minus 115 to minus 122. Lopez plus 100 to minus 105. I'll probably be betting on Lopez. I won't feel good about it, but I probably will be. Steve Erceg, Alessandro Costa. Erceg is a guy that shocked me on debut. Like, beating David Dvorak is a thing and a half. Because I just kind of looked at him on the regional scene, was like, he's just kind of big and awkward. Like, there's some well-rounded stuff. There's some things I like about him, but like, I was just like, is he really going to be able to implement his against serious flyweight competition? Is he going to be able to do his thing? And he came in and he did. He did the thing. Costa is just not a flyweight to me. He's strong for flyweight. He's powerful for flyweight, but he fights way too slow of a pace, which leads me to believe that Erceg, who fights a very high pace and gets stronger as the fight goes on, generally, is going to take it to him and do his thing. And that's why I would have loved to see him fight Match now. But this is a notably less interesting fight. But I got to go with Erceg by decision. Costa's not really a guy you're going to finish. Erceg's not really a guy who has the physicality to finish at a UFC level. But I just think more volume, more pace, more aggression, driving the action, and Erceg gets it done. He is a minus 200 to minus 190 to minus 200 favorite. Costa plus 148 to plus 165. If you feel like betting on an underdog, Costa is an option, but I wouldn't recommend it. Tabitha Ricci versus Lupita Godinez. Disclaimer. I have been picking against Ricci repetitively in the UFC to the point where people think I'm a hater. I like her fights. I like her game. I like outside. I mean, the Baby Shark nickname a little bit silly, but like, I like everything about her. It's just that she is an atomweight, and I can't get past that. My brain cannot get past the idea of a top grappler, position grappler, takedown artist who is that small succeeding. I can't do it. Can't do it. And I'm taking Godinez. Both of them have actually reasonably well done striking games for, primarily takedown and control artists. But and I actually think Ricci's is well blended to her grappling. She's done a phenomenal job developing a striking game that, with not a ton of variety, not a ton of technique, is able to complement her grappling very well. Fantastically so. And Godinez, I'm not as high on the striking game of, because I think it is a little bit divorced at times. Her fight with Cynthia Calvillo was very ugly. But she's big. She's athletic. Well, she's not even that big. She's 5'2", but like, she is bigger. She is a very good wrestler. She is a very good top grappler. She is a willing and confident and comfortable striker. This is a big step up from Ricci, whose wins over, again, I thought she would lose to Jillian Robertson. I was even tempted to have her lose to Polyana Viana. I don't remember if I picked Viana against her or not. That might have been the last time I picked Ricci. But I got to go with Godinez. But we'll see. To be clear, I've been picking Ricci to lose, and she keeps winning. So keep that in mind. Godinez minus 167 to minus 175. Ricci plus 135 to plus 145. Matusz Rebecki versus Roosevelt Roberts. Biggest favorite on the card is Rebecki. I had him, when I looked, it was minus 649 to minus 700. He's up to minus 900 on one odds line now. So I'd bet on Roberts if I were you. If you're looking for an underdog bet, you're looking for the hot take, it is Roberts. He is undervalued here. I am picking Rebecki, though. The reason is essentially Roberts is kind of retired. He had basically retired before they brought him back on The Ultimate Fighter. He talked about if he didn't win The Ultimate Fighter, he would retire again. And he's back here. Like, I just don't think his heart is in it. But like 6'2" at lightweight versus a 5'7" lightweight. No, Roberts is not a great striker, but that's a 7-inch reach advantage. Like, that's hard to overlook. Rebeshki, outside of his low kicks, is not a good striker. But I guess the problem is that I've seen Roberts face guys who are grapplers too many times, get caught in submissions too many times. And I mean, Rebeshki is not Jim Miller, but he is a pretty good grappler. He is a pretty powerful wrestler. He is a powerful low kicker. Roberts has got thin legs. We'll go with Rebeshki, but like I don't see minus 900 there. I just do not. Nazim Sadikov versus Slava Borshev. Slava Claus. Not a big fan of Slava Claus. Don't get me wrong. There's a fun action fighter in Slava Claus. I just think he went to the wrong gym. Like, they had that story of him showing up with like presents at Team Alpha Male and being like, "Let me in," basically. And it's like, you're a striker who is going to Team Alpha Male, who produces a very specific archetype of fighter. And that is the mad scrambling wrestler. This is a bad idea. The like lone exception they have is like Andre Fili. And even Andre Fili is like at his best when he can wrestle and scramble. It's just that like there is like some non-wrestling game to him. So, I mean, he's learned some takedown defense. It's not been nothing, but it's like, it's a dead end in terms of like just being a final product. Like, you are a kickboxer who is now slightly harder to take down, but probably also has become slightly worse at being a ranged kickboxer. Sadikov is a Serra-Longo guy. He is very much the typical Serra-Longo guy. He's got pressure. He's got wrestling. He's got power. He's got some good counter strikes. He's got grappling. I see him taking Borshev down, controlling him. He doesn't sub people much, which makes me think we're going to go the distance here and Sadikov's going to win a decision. It's going to be a fun fight. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. It just feels like Slava Claus, with his personality, could have been like a reasonably big thing if he just went to the right coaches to gloss over his weaknesses and emphasize his strikes. And Team Alpha Male does not do that. Sadikov is the favorite, minus 120 to minus 146. Borshev is the underdog at plus 100 to plus 114. Jared Gordon versus Marco Madsen. Kind of went over this. Like, Marco Madsen's problem is just like, my guy's 39. He's an Olympic level wrestler. Greco-Roman guy. Had he gotten into the sport earlier and with better coaching, maybe, like, there's a scary potential there, but like at the same time, why would you want to? Again, the lack of money in MMA bites it again. I'm going with Gordon. Beating Jared Gordon has never been about just taking him down or just getting on top of him. And it's not like Madsen even has like a particularly great transition to getting from striking to wrestling. That's why he's actually developed a reasonably competent striking game, but like, it's not a striking game that Gordon shouldn't be able to beat. And on top of that, like, again, Gordon, fairly good grappler, fairly well-rounded, very, very, very much is at his ceiling of being like a sort of mid-level guy. There's just not the athleticism just isn't there. But like, good cardio, will push a pace, will get aggressive when need be, work some decent counters. Madsen is pretty counterable. I got to go with Gordon by decision. He is the favorite, minus 182 to 205, and Madsen plus 145 to plus 165. Moving on down, we got Kwaiko Kang versus John Castaneda. Kang is so annoying to me. There are moments in every fight he has where his striking looks so good, so smooth. His grappling looks so good, so smooth. He's clearly an athlete. And it's like, wow, if he can keep doing this, it's gonna be great. He's gonna be a force. He's gonna be that next Korean top-notch guy. And then you watch him do like the dumbest shit. you can imagine in the middle of the fight. Where like he's like, all right, it's working, it's working, it's working. Hang on, let me try this, and then gets crocked. Castaneda is like the opposite. He's a guy who I'm never frustrated watching fight because he's always doing fairly smart stuff as a wrestle boxer who's got some decent counter game and some decent grappling, and he's just not an athlete by the divisional standards. Like bantamweight is like an athlete's division. Castaneda is not that. I just see Castaneda taking advantage of everything Kang does wrong. Like Kang will do something dumb every round. Castaneda will make him pay for that dumb thing. Keep the pressure on. Keep the volume up. Keep breaking him down. Not crumble in his own right. Where he kind of did against Willie Cat Santos, but aside from that, he doesn't really crumble. That being said, if Kang wins, I'm not going to be surprised because Kang is a much better athlete. But yeah, I got to go Castaneda by decision. He is the favorite, minus 135 to minus 158. Kang is the underdog at plus 114 to plus 124. Might be worth a bet. Joshua Van versus Kevin Borges. This is the fight that I'm not supremely interested in. I wasn't super interested in Van when he came in. It was just kind of a case of like he had fought really low-level competition. I was worried about how that would go. Then he fought Jalga Zhumagulov, who, despite the record, is a very good fighter. And he got the job done there. I was very impressed. I liked the volume output. I liked the variety. I liked the willingness to go head and body, something that is not done nearly enough in MMA. And I like the fact that he appeared to actually be pretty hard to take down. Because, I mean, Zhumagulov is not an amazing wrestler by any means, but he's a fairly strong dude who generally makes takedowns part of his game. And he had very, very lucky getting that done. Borges, kind of the same mold. Can crusher, let's be honest. Gets to the Dana White Contender Series. Kind of got crushed by the wrestling of his opponent, but like nothing else. You know, worked the body, decent head movement, etc. I like what he was doing, but like, I also don't think he's an amazing athlete, and I don't think he has amazing power. And if that wrestling is really going to be a huge problem, I think that really caps him in the UFC. Not that Van is likely to do. Van's not a wrestler, but like, he kind of strikes like Van. But Van has kind of proven himself to be a UFC caliber flyweight. And until I see Borges do the same, I can't pick him. Can't, or Borjas, I guess. I can't do it. And it looks like I'm not alone because Van is a minus 218 and minus 265 favorite. Borjas is a plus 180 to plus 200 underdog. But I got Van by decision just to, you know, be a very, very, very similar mold of fighter. The same archetype, essentially. But one that has seen the big lights, been triumphant under the big lights, and Borjas is not. That is the essential difference. Then we get to Dennis Buzukja versus Jamal Emmers. And I'm going with Jamal Emmers. I'm a big fan of Emmers. I think he's a good athlete, good wrestle boxer. There are incompleteness. There's the dumb thing of like, you know, trading heel hooks with Pat Sabatini. That was very dumb. But like he's like what is Buzukja going to do that is like super tricky? Because Buzukja comes from the Sarah Longo germ, like Nazim Sadikov. I have a lot of respect for that dude. Massive respect for that gym. And that's why I keep looking for something in Buzukja that makes me go, he's got it. I can't. He's got decent size. He missed weight for his debut. Was short notice, so I'm not worried about that. But you know, he's got decent size, decent athleticism, hits decently hard, fairly well rounded. But there's nothing shiny. There's nothing that stands out about him. And I think you got to stand out to beat Emmers. Like I think that's the key. Is that if one looks at Jamal Emmers' record, his losses are to guys who have that specific shiny element to them. It's, a Pat Sabatini heel hook guy. It's a Giga Chikadze with his super range striking. It's Julian Erosa and his madman destruction. It's Jack Jenkins with his like super hard low kicks and super powerful game. And Thiago Moises, who's this super sneaky grappler who is surprisingly good at counterpunching. Or Ray Trujillo, who's a madman submission artist. Like, that's what it is. Whereas, like, Bajushka falls way more into the Vince Cachero, Jay Cusinelli, Nello. And a very big disappointment, Chris Avila. But, mold. But, yeah, no. I've got Emmers. I've got fairly good confidence on him. He's also quite large, like 5'10", like one of the few guys who fought Corey Sandhagen back in the day and wasn't dwarfed by him. Emmers is a favorite. I got him by decision because he's not really a huge finisher. Minus 250 to minus 280. He's actually one of the bigger favorites on the card, which is a little surprising. A little bit. And, like, for example, why is he a bigger favorite than Joshua Van? And Bajushka coming back at plus 190 to plus 210. So that's the fight card. I recommend enjoying it. It's a really, really, really good fight card. I might have to watch it on delay though, of course. I got a commentary gig on Saturday. That might be a problem. Check down below, to the left, to the right, wherever it happens to be. Wherever the description for this podcast is, look at it. Because there's a link there to my Discord, where the Fight Simulator lives. There is a link to my gaming stuff, Twitch, YouTube, etc. Check that out. And there are other places where you can watch this podcast. If there happens to be a podcast platform that you're wondering, is this on, that I can listen to on a run or on my way to work on the commute? That's where I do my podcast listening. A lot of podcast listening on the way to work. You can check that out. So, thank you very much. See you after the fights. Enjoy them, and yeah. I don't really have anything snappy other than, like, I don't know. The random Dagestani love is still very weird to me. We'll go with that.